I'm gonna give you some advice, you know, around, this comparison thing. If you find yourself comparing yourself to other people, then this video is for you. Now, I've struggled with this comparison thing too. I've recently just discovered that this was an issue for me my whole life. This habit of just comparing myself to other people, even in sports, dude, like basketball, because I'm highly competitive and like around that sport. And I can find myself, comparing myself to people, other teammates, other rival players, and whatever on the court, and just comparing my skill and experience to them. And let me tell you, man, it's not helpful, Or when I see people wearing expensive brands, I used to think that I was, worse off because I couldn't afford what my peers had. Social media is another thing too, man. Like, I may find myself 1 minute getting expired, but then the next minute, I may feel myself coveting another person's lifestyle. That's where the being mindful of the triggers come in. Luckily, I was able to catch this behavior later on this year. Recently, it takes a lot of courage and reflection to pretty much admit that you have a comparison problem. Now I want to begin sharing my advice, on how to stop this habit from worsening. I want to explain to you how you can be mindful of the situations and experiences that can trigger this habit. I'm gonna explain how I think you can cultivate healthy comparisons in your life. It's because it's at the end of the day, it's easier to compare yourself to the past you. That's a good lesson to understand. Because if you compare yourself to other people, then you're gonna lose yourself. So remember to always compare yourself to the past you. How were you 2 seconds ago? That's important, because you can never get time back. You can never get your time back, So I hope you guys stick around, and I hope you find this supportive and helpful, on your road to self-improvement. Don't always be appraising yourself, wondering if you're better or worse off than others. My business is to create. Besides, since the beginning of time, you were incomparable. Just face it, young people spend more time on the internet, on social media than older people. Alright, you gotta be mindful of your triggers, number one. It's imperative that you pay close attention to what causes you to play these comparison games, because that basically means paying attention to, certain activities that you do, like scrolling on social media. When you're on Instagram or wherever you're on, ask yourself these questions. Like, does this post make you feel envious? Like, does this post that this person uploaded, does it make you jealous? Like, how do you feel walking in a mall? Like, do you feel envy when you see someone with an expensive car? Or how do you feel about people flexing? How do you feel about people bragging, making you feel inferior, asking you questions designed to make you feel inferior? And how do you think that impacts your energy? How do you think that impacts you negatively? And why do you think it's a waste of your time and energy? These are questions you should be asking yourself when you fall in these traps. Saying no to things that don't add value to your life and walking away from them is empowering at the end of the day. So what you want to do is walk away from the comparison trap. So remember, you got to be mindful and check in with yourself when you experience a trigger like this. Your outward appearance, who you are on the inside, is incomparable. You can't compare the two, man. Someone who may appear to be enjoying their life in their social media posts may actually be feeling the opposite on the inside. So what you shouldn't do is judge someone based off what they present to you up front on social media, because you can never fully tell, what's going on behind closed doors. And that's not just with social media, that's with anywhere, dude. People may appear to be happy up front, but in real life they're living, miserably. Money doesn't buy happiness, and I know you've heard that cliche before, but remember that money never buys happiness and never will. You may have heard that, but there are many stories about how many wealthy people are unsatisfied and unhappy with their lives. So cherish the people that support you and value your loved ones, bro, before money. Value who you love before anything else. See, when you stand firm on what you're grateful for, you'll be less likely to engage in comparisons and jealous behavior. So here's a challenge. If someone reminds you of a trigger, or they trigger your urge to engage in the comparison game, then catch yourself and quickly just remind yourself of how good that you have it in your life in that moment. See, it is possible to engage in healthy comparison. You just have to do it in the right way. Each of us all carry and bring a different, combination of experiences, ideas, insights, and personalities to work with us. You have to understand individuality. You see, we are all unique in our own way, so if we know this, then we can understand why comparisons are unproductive and why it can have damaging effects on our mental health. You can't make an accurate comparison of anybody or of any two people, because we all have a very detailed and unique understanding of our own selves and journey. We're only able to accurately understand our own complexity. Other people just become representations of what we think is authentic. See, comparisons are not helpful. If person A achieves something that you like to achieve, then what you would do is use that information by taking inspiration from that person's journey, and you try to progress yourself. But never tell yourself that just because this person achieved something that makes me less than, or that makes that person better than me at this. Rather than tell yourself that dumb stuff, tell yourself, I like what he did, I like what he achieved, so if he can do it, then I can do it, and I can progress too. That way, you allow yourself to take inspiration from that person, but you're putting progression at the center, or you're ultimately replacing comparison. This is a healthier way to deal with comparison traps and learn from others at the same time, leaving the ego at the door. Compare the present you versus the past you. You gotta tell yourself that you're a better hooper than you was 3 years ago. Or better yet, tell yourself that you're a better communicator than you was in high school. When you get stuck in a comparison trap, you lose sight of who you are, and you lose your journey. You lose control. So our best and most beneficial comparison is with ourselves. You gotta use your past self as inspiration if you feel like you're standing still in life. Then will you start to see that you've been moving all this time. Comparisons aren't a bad thing. When you sort apples at a pantry, you have to evaluate each apple to determine which are edible or not. Sometimes you have to evaluate your friends to see if you're in healthy friendships. It gets toxic when you start comparing yourself to other people, and it causes you to focus on your attention off your goals and yourself. Once you take the attention off yourself, you lose yourself, like I said before. Spend time reflecting on your past self and compare that with who you are now. You gotta catch yourself if you fall in these comparison traps. Think about the good in your life at the moment and don't engage in comparison games.